Hey guys, Kripparrian here. In this video I'm going to show you how I run a GDKP raid. Now, a GDKP raid has great benefits to two kinds of people. There are those who have very good gear, whether on their main or their alts, who attend these raids, and these people generally attend these raids for profit because they will very rarely buy an item, or not at all in some cases. The other group that receives benefit from this are those that have a lot of gold to spend and are very willing to gear up either their main characters or the alts, or whoever they decide to bring to these runs. A GDKP run is much like any other public raid that one would do. However, because there is in a way financial incentive, you can attract very good players to, in a sense, carry those that don't have very good gear, or in this case are considered buyers. Now, the way the gold is accumulated is through auctioning off items. So as you've seen in this video, it is when a boss dies and he drops 3 items, each item would be auctioned off through the add-on, and you would essentially trade the person who wins the auction the item for the gold that he won it for. Ideally, you should be able to get buyers for almost any item that dropped if you've set up the raid properly and have a good distribution of those that carry and those that buy items. After many items and after you've killed a bunch of bosses and you've decided to end the raid, as the person running the add-on, as the loot master in a sense, you would then distribute all the gold that you've accumulated through selling items to every person who's still in the raid at that point. From my experience of doing these raids, about 20 to 30 times so far, each person should expect to get anywhere between, I'd say, 5 to 12,000 gold at the end of one of these raids. This figure may seem like a lot to you for maybe 3 to 4 hours of work, but I want you guys to keep in mind that it's only representative of this particular instance during this particular time frame. And I say that because during the end of an expansion, a lot of people who have accumulated a lot of gold throughout the expansion want to spend it and want to catch up on a lot of raid content and gear that I have missed so far. Alright, so now from here on out, I'm going to talk about how you can set up a GDKP run of your own. Now, the first thing you should do is you should check on your server if there are other people running these kinds of runs, because it is a lot of work, and I would say it's not particularly worth it to actually run a GDKP of your own. You cannot be just anybody on a server and run a GDKP, because you have to understand you are being trusted with hundreds of thousands of gold, and people need to know you. You also need people who are very good to show up. You need to have leadership qualities, and you need to be fair and have a very good organized structure of these raids. So, if you think you can handle all that, and you got enough friends to start you off with, you need a good number of friends to be your carry group, and you got all the organizational skills and everything going for you, just advertise in trade chat, advertise in the Realm forums, get it started. Once you get started, once you do it 1 or 2 weeks, and you're doing it at the same time every week, people will naturally show up, and it'll be smooth sailing after that. So you're now the raid leader, you're now the loot master, and you're the guy running the add-on. Alright, step 1. Get the add-on. It's in the description. Easy to get. It's easy to use, but I'm still going to go over it real quick. Alright, so you start up in game. You got the add-on installed. It's running. You click on that little icon on the mini-map, and you get this screen that has a lot of information on it popping up. This is what you need to worry about. There are 2 columns. There's the column for the starting price, and the next column is the raise column. Okay? What raise means is if I bid, let's say 1,000, and someone else wants to outbid me, they can only outbid me if they beat 1,000 by the minimum raise price. I would recommend starting prices for all epic items around 2,000, tokens around 3,000, and the minimum raise 1 to 200. I like 200 because it usually speeds it up a little bit. There's also one more thing that you need to set beforehand, and it is the cooldown pace. You can drag that little slider to 3 or 4. This pretty much dictates the timing and how fast an item will expire should there be no more bids. Alright, so you got the add-on all set up, you got it running, you got your raid set up, and you just killed the first boss. Let's say he dropped, in addition to his 3 epics, he dropped, let's say, some Primordial Serenite. You want to loot all the items that are not the epics. So Primordial Serenites, any patterns, anything like that that you may encounter, Shadowmourne shards if you're not selling them. So You want to loot everything that's not being auctioned off immediately off the boss, and then you click this little window that says Announce Loot. And when you click Announce Loot, the epic items will be listed automatically on the right side of your auction pane. Once the items that have dropped have shown up on this list, you can click the Start button to the right of the item to begin bidding. And the bids will close after people have stopped, trying to outbid each other. And that's just how it works. One item at a time, and then you trade the items, all three, and you move on to the next boss. Also, what I recommend before you move on to the next boss is to announce how much gold each person in the raid will get. And you can do this by clicking the Briefing tab and then clicking Gold Log, and it will announce automatically. This add-on is very useful and will handle all the annoying number work, all that stuff. It'll handle it all for you. And that's all there is to know. However, if you are leading these kinds of raids and you don't have much leading experience, these are a few things that I want you guys to do. Okay? You need to be very strict with how you run your raid. You can't let people do whatever they want, and you have to explain the fights very, very precisely, especially because a lot of those people who are going to show up to these runs are not going to know what to do. Another thing I want you guys to do is I want you to keep your runs very, very fair as you possibly can. For instance, if the item has already been auctioned off and someone has already won it, do not let another person try to offer you more for it. Okay? You're going to be very fair, and you need to keep to the schedule as much as you can. Another aspect that's going to increase the success of your runs is you monitoring the people in your raid. Okay? You want everyone in your raid to fall very directly into one of the two categories. And the two categories are those that already have very good gear and want no or very little loot. Those are called the carry category, and those that need a lot of loot and have a lot of gold to spend. Okay? Those guys don't have to perform very well if they're going to spend a lot of money. Okay? What you don't want is, you don't want people that do not perform well, do not have good gear, and still do not buy anything. Okay? Those guys are leeching, and they're not helping your raid at all. Don't be rude to them. I recommend you keep them in the raid that week. It was, your fault for poorly examining them. But the next week, just choose not to invite them. And progressively, your raid should go smoother and smoother, and hopefully make more and more money. Good luck to you guys.